Welcome to day 2 of this year's Energy Intelligence Forum. I'm joined today by some of the winners of the Energy Intelligence Leaders for Tomorrow scheme. Congratulations and welcome to the forum, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I start by asking you what it means to you to be selected as a winner of this year's Leaders for Tomorrow scheme?
For me, it's a huge honor. It shows the commitment that the oil and gas energy has in order to improve our lives, but also to nurture professionals and to prepare us for the challenges of tomorrow. I believe that the youth are not only part of the present, but are part of the future. We have been kept on the sideline for too long, and it's time for us to be in the equation. So simply, it's a huge honor for us, and I think my colleagues can agree that it's a great opportunity for all of us.
Thank you. And what have been your key takeaways from the Energy Intelligence Forum so far?
I think going into this conference, one of the things that I was asking myself was whether or not demand has peaked, especially has that been exacerbated in this new COVID world. And I think whether or not it actually has, we'll see the answer later on with, consumer confidence in petrochemicals and, certain indexes in consumption. However, I think that the challenges are still the same, regardless of the answer to that question. So I think the first thing is that it comes down to the financing. And one of, my favorite panels so far was one on financing. And there was a gentleman speaking from BlackRock, and his perspective, right, was that the oil and gas community has to win that. His perspective is really a perspective of productivity. So, it'll be now sort of a requirement that projects will need to be NPV positive at $40 to $50 a barrel. And at the same time, it's interesting to see the perspective from the oil and gas side. So one of the panels actually had Chevron CEO, and he was sharing his perspective where it's one of consolidation and moving away from NPV and more towards sustained growth with the most productive projects that they have now. And it also means, in his perspective, right, project acquisition similar to the deal they just finished out with Noble. And at the same time, it's sort of interesting to see the shifting in ideologies that we're seeing between and amongst the IOCs. So for example, BP's acquisition of Equinor shows how different sort of IOCs are developing sort of a mindset of what the future is going to look like and, how to better position themselves to be the energy providers of tomorrow. And that could be by, focusing on productive assets right now, the Chevron approach, or it could be the BP approach. And really, I think my takeaway is that there isn't one answer, and it's definitely not one or the other necessarily. It's more about focusing on, how you can optimize your portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a huge impact on oil and gas demand around the world. What do you think is the biggest COVID-related hurdle, and how will this all impact the energy transition?
Yeah, so the demand for oil plummeted due to the lockdown restrictions, which kind of forced a pause on many of the industries that consume oil, such as the aviation industry. So this caused the oil price to plummet, but also this was also experienced alongside the price war, which occurred during the same time. However, I think this will have a positive impact on the energy transition, as it's really highlighted the need to transition to a more sustainable and low carbon future. We've seen many of the super majors like BP, for example, announcing that they tend to be net zero by 2050, and they are starting to act on their statements. And we're starting to see projects such as the Northern Lights project by Equinor, Total and Shell, which is a carbon storage project, which is kind of showing that the commerciality of such projects are going to become more and more common in the future. And it's going to be these kind of methods that are going to be needed to help along this energy transition from in a post-COVID world.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. And finally, do you see yourself being an instrument of change for the future?
I do, definitely. Although this is a really tough moment to be joining the industry, because of the global crisis. I believe it is also an extremely interesting time because of the transition towards the low carbon and the challenge of rising demand for energy while decreasing the carbon footprint. To cope with that, the most technologically advanced solutions have been developed, and I think their importance will only grow in the next years. So that's why, having graduated with a bachelor's degree in petroleum geology, I recently decided to study the master's in computer science to learn programming and to be ready to tackle the modern challenges the industry faces and will be facing in the next years.
Thanks to all of you, and congratulations again on your successful applications to the Leaders for Tomorrow programme. Thank you.